Hi, James. How you going?
Good, thanks, Anne. Lovely to be here.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, thanks for having a chat again. I thought we could talk about the importance of looking after your credit score and what you can do, what clients need to really look at to can help them probably prior going into the market to purchase a property. Because I know the simplistic step that some people take is they go, oh, okay, we'll go get our finance arranged, we'll get a pre-approval, and then we'll start looking at domain and realestate.com and we'll find our perfect place. But there's a lot more that should be done prior to taking any of those steps, isn't there, and around your finance.
Yeah. Well, as a broker, when people come into me for finance advice, the first question we ask is, can we have a look at your credit file? And the reason for that is because that's the first question the banks ask. As soon as you put an application for a loan, whether it be through a broker or directly to a lender or applying for a credit card or telecom or whoever it might be, first thing they do, check your credit file. Look at your past history in obtaining credit, your behaviour with regard to making your repayments, your proclivity to be applying for multiple loans or, credit cards, all that sort of stuff. So there's a lot of things that appear on your credit file, which can have a significant impact on your ability to borrow money. If going so far as not being able to borrow money at all, potentially, if you've demonstrated poor history in your credit file. So it's a very big deal that 99% of people looking to borrow money wouldn't have even considered. So when you're dealing with a sort of professional broking business, we want to see what the banks see before the banks see it. So we can then, assist you to make sure that that's going to be I suppose, a benefit to you, or if there's issues there that need to be managed, that we can go through that process with you.
You can sort of like troubleshoot before it becomes a problem, say if they were going through that process themselves without knowing that how important their credit file is and their credit system and how their activities are being monitored.
Yeah. Well, look, it's monitored, I suppose. Yeah, that's fair enough. All the lenders, all the sort of lenders who signed up to what's called the Comprehensive Credit Reporting Scheme report repayment history on all transactions to the reporting agency, whether that be Equifax or whoever. So before a lender, even looks at your application, what they're looking at is where have you been and what have you done, and why have you been there and why have you done what you've done. So things like repayment history, if you're failing to pay your credit card on time, that's going to show up a red flag. If you're failing to make your loan repayments on time, or you're in arrears consistently, that's all going to show up on your credit file, and that's going to be a big red flag for any lender who's looking to sort of approve a loan for you. So there's a lot to go there. They look at behaviour and history, and obviously they've got all these psychological algorithms poking around in the background that also look at your behaviour, and that can be something as simple as multiple, credit card applications, for example. If you're going frequent flyer shopping with your credit card, every time you hit a credit card, it puts a little mark on your credit file, and if you do that 5 times in the next 12 months, that's going to have a significantly detrimental effect on your credit score. As they're looking at trends and behaviours as well when assessing that credit score. So there's lots of stuff that you can do which are in effect harmless to a degree and advantageous for you, if you want to take a trip to Hawaii or whatever. But in the meantime, that can be sort of trampling your credit file as well. So there's unintended consequences. If you're not aware, well,
So when you take your clients through the initial process and say they do have significant issues, are they open to making those changes? Do you find that they're motivated, or
Look,
it just becomes too hard and they walk away,
not,
or you
not,
say you can't
yeah,
help?
it's probably not that simple and straightforward. Simply, the credit file reflects your history over the last couple of years. So any changes you make today aren't going to impact on your credit score, unless they're regular over the next 3 to 6 months. So it's going to take time to sort of make significant changes to your credit score in that respect. But what it tells us is what we need to do as finance brokers and mortgage brokers. We can look at that and go, right, we can still get you a loan potentially, because a number of lenders don't credit score. They'll look at a deal on merit. They won't sort of employ that sort of those algorithms to disqualify people up front. So if you're making all your repayments, but your problem is you've been multiple credit card shopping, but you've also been making all your credit card payments on time, well, there are lenders who will go, well, you know what, we're good with that because you've actually been paying all your bills on time. So we don't see an issue from that perspective. It's not just a straight up and down score. It's assessed by a human being, which is becoming rarer and rarer these days, initially, at least.
Yeah, I was going to say, how many lenders are actually scrutinising it, like in person?
Most of them, as I said, as soon as you put it, okay, as a broker, someone comes to me, I say, oh, look, let's see what the bank sees before the bank sees it. Let's get your credit score. That's the very first thing we do. And literally, after a 5-minute conversation with me, I'll send you out an email requesting access to your credit file. That's a DocuSign process. We get that back in the next sort of 10 minutes. And I have a quick look at that. And it tells me what debts you have, what your repayment history is, what your credit score is, what your application for credit history is, any directorships you've got, all that sort of stuff, that the banks really want to know. Now, if there's anything detrimental on your credit file, then, it can be as simple as a case of mistaken identity. Someone might have applied for a loan and they got a similar name and a similar date of birth, and it might have got tacked onto your credit file in error. We'll be able to just let you know, look, is this yours? No? Right, well, you need to contact that lender, get that removed. Suddenly your credit score goes back to where it should be. It can be identity theft issues. Someone's lost a driver's license. You might find, well, hang on, I don't remember taking that by a BMW. Where's that come from? Be nice if you did, probably, but by the same token, BMW Finance, never heard of it. Contact BMW Finance, right? Identity theft, get the cops involved potentially, but also
that's amazing, isn't it? Like, I mean, you wouldn't know this is on your file until you start this process.
That's right. You could have someone, just so you got your purse or your wallet stolen, someone's found your Medicare card and you think you've lost it, you've just gone, oh, too bad, I'll go get a new one. Well, someone could be, fraudulently, playing around with those documents to get credit, to buy things, to, to get other forms of ID, and you would be oblivious to all this until the cops came around and tried to arrest you, So, but this is the sort of little thing that having a look at your credit file will instantly alert you to it. So it's a really important document that most people should be having paying a little bit more attention to.
100%, yeah.
And as I said, we do that. The first thing we do, it's the absolute first step in our process. We just go, right, what does that look like? I've had clients, who've gone, oh my God, I've never heard of this, whatever. It's just to make a matter of, as I said, a debt wrongly attributed to them because someone else, a similar name, same date of birth, but just gone, right, that's you, when in fact it isn't you, it's someone else. So, they can be fixed really easily. But if you don't fix them and then you put your application in, it blows up. So
yeah, that's right. Look, I often talk about, around property transactions, the bank of mum and dad and going guarantor and helping out, and I mean, hand on heart, it's all well-meaning, but that could be just another nightmare scenario as well, isn't it? Going, putting up
whenever you
money.
got more than one person, there's the risks multiply. And if you're doing mum and dad as well, then you potentially got 4 people involved in the transaction, 2 properties. There's those type of things. Once again, the first point I raise with my clients is you never go into something unless you know exactly how you're going to get out of it.
Get out
And
of
that's
it.
all parties involved, you know. Let's look at your exit strategy before you go into it, because things happen, people change, circumstances change.
Yeah.
It's a big problem occasionally. So
Yeah.
I tell them all get around the table, work, you know, here's some questions to ask each other. They're going to be very uncomfortable questions, but you know what? You're better off asking them now than, you know, when you're, you know, waist deep in this situation.
Look, yeah, look, I mean, you'd be like me, you hear of all kinds of things. You know, I had, you know, initial investigation with a client where, you know, the father was going to give her a whole heap of money to buy a property and he was going to go live with her. But if things didn't work out, he'd want his money back straight away. And I said to her, you just can't just pull that money back out of the property.
How do you think that's going to work? Yeah.
And I said, you've got multiple siblings and, you know, da, 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 da. And yeah, sometimes it's good to know when to walk away, isn't it? You know.
Look, as I said, you've got to kind of war game that. And that's where, you know, having experienced people behind you will force you to look at those issues rather than just sort of herd you down the road and just go, yeah, great. And then, oh, I went to shit. Oh, too bad. It's bad luck.
Yeah.
Good luck with the next one.
Well, exactly.
We'll try and sort of go, all right, I just, you know, cool your jets a bit.
Yeah.
Let's have a little look at the, you know, unintended consequences that could come of this. Make sure you're all okay with it. Make sure everyone knows who's who in the zoo and how it's all going to look if it all goes pear-shaped. What's that going to look like? And if that's acceptable to everyone, then by all means you should be going ahead. You know, if you've got your exit strategy all agreed and mapped out, and you know how that's all going to look, and sign off on an agreement and say, all right, well, now we're all clear. There's going to be no questions. We know what's going to happen. Someone wants to pull the pin for whatever reason. This is the next chain of events that occurs, and everyone might not like it, but you've all signed up for it, so that's what's going to happen.
So what would be your top tip, you think, around your credit score, like just having one credit card?
Look, okay, there's no right or wrong with any of it. It's just being aware of what your actions are. So what are the repercussions of me doing X, Y, or Z? And that's simply just having an understanding of how it all works. So, you know, my tip would be, you know, for someone who doesn't know, let's have a look at it and then see what that indicates. It could be, you know, you're going great, you've got a great credit score, just carry on. Or if there are issues there that need to be sort of, you know, you need to sort of amend your behaviour somehow, then we look at what that would look like. But as I said, there's no black and white, right or wrong with any of it. It's more a case of, you know, having that education process, I suppose, just saying, well, look, the consequences of A are B, consequences of C are D, and what that will impact on your credit score is it'll be either detrimental or it'll be an improvement, you know. So once you've got that sort of clarity, you know, you start making better decisions ultimately.
Yeah, lovely. Well, thanks again, James, for your time. That was really interesting. You know, talking around, you know, your credit score and all of that, and additional finance.
Happy to help.
Okay, thanks, James.
Thanks, Anne.